The rise of humanity, the war that will define our destiny. Attention! The booming voice reverberated across the galaxy, piercing through the vast silence of deep space. Humanity has awakened. The time of reckoning is upon us. Brace yourselves for the most terrifying battle the universe has ever known. In the dark void of the cosmos, civilizations far older than Earth's own history watched in stunned silence. The once unstoppable, ancient forces of the galaxy, mighty alien races who had conquered entire star systems, felt a shift. Something was happening. A force long thought extinct was stirring, and it was none other than the human race. This was no longer the era of the meek and untested. Humanity, once a fledgling species, was ready to ascend to power. But they had no idea what lay in wait for them, no idea of the force that would challenge them, a force that would change the course of history forever. A war was coming, one that would determine the fate of the cosmos. And in the center of it all stood a figure, a mysterious, violet-skinned alien who was both the harbinger of destruction and the key to survival. For centuries, the cosmos had been torn asunder by an unrelenting war. The universe, a vast expanse of shimmering galaxies and forgotten worlds, had grown accustomed to the endless cycle of conquest and destruction. Warlords, emperors, and alien leaders from every corner of space had risen to power, carving out their dominions in the stars. They waged war not for survival, but for supremacy, clashing in violent bouts of domination that left the universe forever scarred. The galaxy's ruling species, having fought for eons, had come to see themselves as invincible, their power unchallenged, their fates sealed. They were untouchable, or so they thought. But then, from the darkest depths of space, she arrived. Her skin was a striking shade of violet, an ethereal hue that no mortal eye had ever beheld. It shimmered like the midnight sky, alive with an energy that seemed to pulse in tune with the very heart of the cosmos. Her eyes, glowing like twin stars, contained the weight of eons' ancient wisdom, profound understanding, and an icy rage that simmered beneath the surface, a storm waiting to be unleashed. The universe had never seen her kind. She was not like the conquerors that had come before her. She was something entirely different, an unstoppable force of nature. Her name was whispered in the shadows of the universe, spoken only in reverence and fear, Seraphim of the Forgotten Empire. She was not a mere wanderer of the stars. Her arrival had been written in the very fabric of time, a prophecy that had been handed down by the ancient forces that governed the universe. The stars themselves had foretold her coming, and the galaxies trembled at the thought. Seraphim's mission was clear. She was to be both a messenger and a harbinger, a being sent to change the fate of one insignificant planet, Earth. Earth, a tiny blue orb on the edge of the universe, had long been a forgotten world, neglected by the cosmic powers that had turned their gaze to more powerful realms. Humanity, trapped in the confines of its own limited perspective, had no knowledge of the galactic war that raged in the heavens above. To them, the universe was an endless expanse of mystery, a place of wonder, but they had no idea of the dark forces silently gathering beneath their feet. But humanity's ignorance was about to come to an end. Seraphim's presence alone was a catalyst, a spark that would set the universe on fire. She was no mere spectator in this grand cosmic drama, she was the instrument of change. She had been sent to awaken a dormant power deep within the human race, an untapped potential that had remained hidden for millennia. The time had come for humanity to evolve, to rise beyond their limitations, and to take their place among the stars. As Seraphim descended upon Earth, her arrival was not a subtle one. The skies above parted, the heavens themselves seeming to bow before her as she fell to the planet's surface. Her descent was accompanied by a tremor felt across the world, a pulse that rippled through the fabric of reality. Those who witnessed it spoke of an energy unlike anything they had ever experienced, an overwhelming force that seemed to bend the very laws of nature. It was a sign. Something was coming, something that would change everything. And though the people of Earth remained oblivious to the storm that was about to break upon them, the ancient forces of the universe knew that Seraphim's arrival would set in motion events far beyond their understanding. The war between the galactic empires was about to take a new turn. But Earth had no idea that its fate had already been sealed. It was a day like any other, until the sky above Earth was torn apart by a blinding flash. For a moment, the sun itself seemed to burn brighter, as though the heavens had been set alight. No one could explain the sudden brilliance. It came without warning, a pulse of energy so powerful it shook the very foundations of the planet. The shock wave rippled across the globe, causing electrical storms, blackouts, and unexplainable phenomena. As the flashes of light subsided, a new wave of confusion descended upon the world. At first, it seemed like a series of strange coincidences, isolated incidents that defied all logic. Massive energy surges were detected across continents, bursts of power so intense they distorted satellite communications. Then came the inexplicable transmissions, cryptic signals broadcast in languages that no human had ever heard, strange symbols flashing across screens, seemingly originating from deep space. No one knew what to make of it, least of all the world's governments. They scrambled to issue statements, hoping to maintain control, but the truth was far beyond their understanding. What they had witnessed was not a natural phenomenon, it was something far more ominous. The situation escalated quickly. Out of the blue, massive, unidentified ships began to appear in Earth's atmosphere. These alien vessels, enormous and silent, hovered above cities, casting long, dark shadows over the world below. Their origins were unknown, and their intentions even more so. The ships did not engage, they simply watched, cold and indifferent. Humanity had no way of knowing that the skies had become a battlefield, one that had been fought for millennia in the shadows of their existence. The first direct encounter occurred high in the Himalayas, where a human expedition, on an unrelated mission, stumbled upon a discovery that would change the course of history. Deep beneath the surface of the mountain range, hidden within a cavern of ancient stone, they unearthed an artifact, a relic so old it defied all known records. The expedition's lead scientist, Dr. Eleanor Hayes, initially believed it to be a simple relic of an ancient civilization, perhaps a lost piece of history. But as the team examined the object, something extraordinary happened. It activated, sending out a pulse of energy that reverberated through the ground like a thunderclap. This was no ordinary artifact. It was a signal, a beacon that had been dormant for eons, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And now, that moment had come. Unbeknownst to the humans, this ancient relic had been designed to call forth a war far greater than anything they could have imagined. Its activation sent a message across the stars, reaching the far corners of the galaxy, where the forces of the ancient warlords had been preparing for centuries. On the far side of the galaxy, in the cold depths of space, the Galactic Council of Warlords was already making preparations. These leaders of the great empires, beings who had ruled the stars for millennia, had long since deemed humanity a threat, a species too primitive and insignificant to ever pose any real danger. They had watched from afar as humanity's civilization slowly progressed, dismissing them as little more than ants scurrying beneath the feet of giants. But that perception was about to change. Seraphine's arrival on Earth had altered everything. Her presence was a signal in itself, an undeniable sign that humanity was no longer insignificant. The ancient council, composed of diverse and powerful alien species each with their own agendas, histories, and cultures, had been observing Earth for eons, but had never considered it a threat. Their ignorance was now their greatest mistake. As they saw the artifact's signal and felt the presence of Seraphine, the cold grasp of inevitability tightened around them. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. In the dark corners of the universe, on the outer rim where the known civilizations ended and the unknown began, a battle was quietly being waged, a battle for the future of humankind. The Galactic Council's forces, vast and overwhelming, were readying themselves for an invasion. They had underestimated humanity, and they were about to pay the price. They had no idea that Earth was not merely a pawn in a larger game, but now, with Seraphine's guidance, it was becoming the battleground for a war that would determine the fate of the universe. The unseen war was just beginning, and humanity had no idea they were already in the middle of it. With every passing moment, the stakes grew higher, and the forces of destiny moved inexorably toward a confrontation that would shake the cosmos to its core. As the dark shadows of the alien fleet descended upon Earth, humanity's once comfortable existence was torn asunder. The world, divided by years of strife, greed, and mistrust, found itself facing an existential threat that no nation could defeat alone. It was a moment of reckoning. The time for isolation was over, and humanity was forced to confront the unthinkable. They had no choice but to unite. In a matter of weeks, the world's governments scrambled to form an unprecedented alliance. The United Nations, once a symbol of fractured diplomacy, became the foundation for a new global order. Leaders from every nation, each with their own agendas and insecurities, set aside old rivalries in the face of the alien onslaught. The idea of peace seemed a distant hope, but survival demanded action, and they knew they had no choice. The message was clear: humanity would either stand together or fall apart. In the midst of this chaos, Seraphine, the violet-skinned harbinger of war, emerged as the singular force that would bind them all. Standing tall before a council of Earth's greatest leaders, her presence radiated a power so overwhelming it caused even the most hardened generals to quiver. Her eyes, ancient and unreadable, locked onto each leader as though she could peer into their very souls. The very air seemed to ripple around her, as if the universe itself was bending to her will. She raised her voice, a sound that filled the vast chambers and reached the hearts of every listener. It was a voice like the wind howling through a dying forest, soft yet unyielding, haunting yet beautiful. Humanity has been chosen, she declared, her words carrying the weight of fate itself. Her tone was unshakable, yet there was a profound sadness behind her words, as if she mourned the truth she was about to reveal. You are not what you seem. You are far greater than you know. This is your time, your reckoning. The galaxy will either bow to your will, or it will burn beneath your feet. Her declaration was not just a prophecy, it was an ultimatum. Seraphine spoke as if she had seen the future in all its complexity, as though she held the threads of destiny in her hands. The leaders before her, once cynical and disillusioned, now found themselves trembling in awe. There was no doubt in their minds that the fate of their species rested in the hands of this singular, enigmatic being. As her words echoed in the chamber, Seraphine revealed the true depth of her promise, a gift of unimaginable power that could shape the future of Earth and the galaxy itself, the Starforge. This ancient technology was no mere weapon, it was the key to humanity's survival, the potential to rewrite the very laws of the universe. The Starforge had been forged from the bones of fallen stars, a relic of unimaginable age and power, capable of reshaping reality itself. But wielding such a force came with a price. Humanity could not simply wield the Starforge, they had to transform. The species that once squabbled over borders and resources would have to evolve into something greater, something more unified, more capable, more powerful than they had ever imagined. The Starforge was a weapon, but it was also a test. Humanity had to rise to the occasion, shedding their old selves and embracing the immense power within them. As the world prepared for the coming storm, the reality of the war began to set in. There was no turning back. People everywhere, farmers in the plains, soldiers in the barracks, civilians in the cities, began to feel the pull of the conflict. Resistance cells were formed, alliances forged between unlikely partners, and governments began conscripting civilians into military service. Nations that had once fought bitterly over territory now found themselves fighting side by side against a common enemy. The fight would no longer be for mere survival, it was a fight for dominance, for the future of Earth, and for the place of humankind in the galaxy. For every alien race that stood against them, there would be a human soldier ready to rise. The war was no longer a distant concept. It was real. It was coming. And Seraphine, the mysterious figure from beyond the stars, had given them the means to fight. But the question remained, would humanity be able to rise to the challenge, or would the Starforge be nothing more than an empty promise? The call to arms had been made, and all of Earth would answer. The war did not begin with a single clash, but rather, it began with an explosion, a violent rupture that echoed across the world and shook the very core of humanity's existence. The first battles raged on Earth's surface, where humanity, for the first time in history, found itself engaged in a conflict that spanned entire continents. The skies above were torn asunder by the thunderous roar of massive starships, behemoths of alien design that hovered with a menacing grace, releasing salvo after salvo of destructive energy that lit up the atmosphere like an inferno. Beneath these titanic war machines, Earth's great cities became war zones, their once proud skylines reduced to rubble as the war blazed across the planet. On the ground, humanity's greatest military forces mobilized. National armies, once divided by borders and ideology, were now unified under a single banner. The Starforge had done its work. Seraphin's alien technology infused human weaponry with otherworldly power. The once human tanks now hummed with energy fields that deflected enemy fire. Soldiers wore armor that could withstand the impact of alien lasers, and new energy-based weaponry allowed humanity to fight on an even playing field. But for all the advancements, the battle was still not one of armies alone. This was a conflict far deeper and more complex than anything the human race had ever faced. It was not a battle of strength, it was a battle of ideologies. The galactic empires, with their millennia of history, saw humanity's rise as an affront to their unchallenged rule. They viewed humans as insignificant, nothing more than ants scurrying about in the vast expanse of the stars. To them, Earth was a backwater planet, its people primitive and destined to remain so. They had watched humanity for eons, dismissing them as a species of no consequence, not even worth the effort of extermination. After all, in the eyes of the ancient alien civilizations, humans had no place among the stars. Theirs was a universe of order, of dominance, and of eternal control. But humanity, driven by an unyielding spirit, could never accept that. What the galactic empires failed to comprehend was that humanity was not just fighting for survival. It was fighting for something far greater, something that no ancient force, no empire, could ever understand: freedom. Humanity's relentless drive for freedom, its boundless curiosity and thirst for progress, its unshakable belief in the power of choice and the right to shape its own destiny, this was the essence of what made them different from every other species the galaxy had ever known. As the war raged on, it became clear that humanity was not fighting just to exist. They were fighting for their very essence, for the future of their kind, for the right to determine their own path in a universe that had long denied them agency. Unlike the cold, calculating empires of the galaxy, humanity fought with heart and purpose. Their resistance wasn't driven by a desire for power or domination, it was driven by a need to protect everything they had built and everything they could become. Seraphin stood at the head of this fight. Her presence, a constant reminder of the power that lay at humanity's fingertips, was both a beacon and a blade. She guided the forces of Earth with the wisdom of ages, her ancient knowledge melding with humanity's ingenuity. Yet, it was not her knowledge alone that sustained them, it was the spirit of the people, humanity's resilience, its determination, and its unwavering belief in its own potential that fueled the war effort. The battlefield stretched across the globe. From the burning deserts of the Middle East, where armored divisions clashed with alien mechanized troops, to the dense jungles of South America, where guerrilla warfare raged against the invading forces, the human race fought with an intensity that no galactic empire had ever seen. The war was not just a test of technology and military might, it was a test of the very essence of what it meant to be human. And in the darkest hours of the war, when it seemed as though the enemy would crush them underfoot, humanity's strength became apparent. It was not in the weaponry they wielded or the battles they won, it was in the unbreakable will of a species determined to survive. The ancient empires, accustomed to the dominance of their kind, underestimated humanity's capacity for defiance. They saw humans as mere obstacles to be swept aside. But what they failed to realize was that humanity was not just fighting to preserve its place in the galaxy. They were fighting to forge their own future, one where they would no longer be subjects to the whims of greater forces. It was this fierce, unwavering drive for freedom that would ultimately prove to be their greatest weapon, a weapon that no empire could hope to conquer. As the skies burned and the ground trembled beneath the weight of the conflict, humanity's fight had only just begun. It was not a war for territory or wealth, it was a war for their very soul. And in the end, it would be that spirit of freedom, of unity, that would determine the fate of the galaxy itself. The war, which had once seemed like an insurmountable challenge, had slowly become something far more personal, an abyss that Seraphin herself had come to understand in its darkest depths. No longer was she merely the harbinger of war, she had transformed into something far more dangerous, a force of pure destruction. Her presence, once a symbol of hope, was now a reflection of the devastation she had witnessed. The alien coalition, despite its overwhelming might, had underestimated the power of human resolve, and as each victory and defeat painted the battlefield, Seraphin became the embodiment of humanity's deepest, most burning rage. Her eyes, which once gleamed with distant wisdom, now burned with a cold fire. Every blow struck, every life lost, was personal to her. The galaxy had underestimated the human race, and they would soon learn that to do so was a fatal mistake. Her power, amplified by the Starforge, was unmatched. Her battles were not only military, they were psychological, a personal vendetta against the empires that had seen Earth as nothing more than a footnote in the grand history of the stars. For years, the war had raged. The alien coalition, made up of beings so ancient that their civilizations had lasted longer than human history itself, fought with the arrogance of those who had never known true loss. They struck with weapons of unimaginable power, their fleets capable of vaporizing entire cities with a single blast. The skies had become choked with the debris of fallen ships, the earth beneath scarred by the blast waves of star-destroying technology. It seemed as though humanity would be crushed beneath the weight of an enemy that had come from every corner of the galaxy, bound together by the shared desire to suppress Earth's rise. But in the final moments, when all hope seemed lost, when the great alien warlords had gathered to deal the final blow, something incredible happened. Humanity, broken yet unbowed, reached deep within itself and found the one thing that had always set them apart, their unyielding spirit. It was not technology or weapons that would save them, not the Starforge or Seraphin's alien enhancements. It was something far more profound. The power that surged from Earth was not a weapon of mass destruction, it was a weapon of the soul. It was a force born from the collective will of every human who had fought, who had believed, who had hoped. It was a manifestation of humanity's unity, its ability to overcome division and rise, even when faced with annihilation. The strength of their shared desire to protect their future, to safeguard their right to exist, merged into a single pulse of energy that resonated through the very fabric of the universe. As the battle reached its climax, humanity unleashed this final, desperate surge. In the heart of the cosmic battlefield, where stars once burned with the power of ancient civilizations, a new energy erupted. It was radiant and blinding, a force of pure light that tore through the galaxy with the ferocity of a supernova. It consumed everything in its path, the alien ships, the vast fleets that had once seemed invincible obliterated in an instant. The wave of energy was not merely destructive, it was transformative. It reshaped the stars, altered the very course of the universe, and left nothing but the shattered remnants of the alien coalition in its wake. The war, which had defined the destiny of Earth, was over. Humanity had prevailed not by conquering, but by rising above. The alien empires, so sure of their dominance, were no more. The galaxy, once a place of order and control, had been irrevocably altered. The cosmic balance had shifted, and in the aftermath of the final blow, the universe was left to witness the birth of a new age, one where humanity would no longer be subjugated but would stand as equals among the stars. The survivors, the ones who had fought and bled on the front lines, looked to the skies. The battle was won, but the cost was immense. The future, now uncertain, stretched out before them a future where the lessons of war would guide their every decision, where the price of victory would never be forgotten. But as the remnants of the alien coalition disbanded, as the final embers of the great conflict faded into nothingness, the humans realized that they had not only defeated their enemies. They had proven something far greater. They had proven that no force, no matter how powerful, could ever truly suppress the indomitable will of humanity. And as they looked toward the heavens, where Seraphine stood, her eyes filled with both sorrow and pride, they knew that the universe would never be the same again. The final showdown had reshaped the stars. Humanity had emerged not as mere survivors, but as the new architects of their destiny. The battle was over. The war had been won. And a new era had begun. Humanity had faced the greatest test of its existence and emerged victorious. The aliens who had once deemed them insignificant were now forced to bow before them. The violet-skinned harbinger, Seraphine, had led them to their destiny. And in the end, the human spirit had proven to be stronger than anything the galaxy could throw at them. This was not just the story of one battle. This was the story of an entire species, awakening to their true power, ready to take their place among the stars. And the galaxy, for the first time, trembled before them. This rewrite includes new characters, a fresh plotline, and an original setting, while keeping the essence of the human has awakened concept. The narrative is now filled with epic battles, psychological depth, and an overwhelming sense of human triumph, all wrapped in a dramatic and suspense-filled tone to engage viewers and ensure they stay hooked until the very end.